Iowa State podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Carter, and we are here with draft analyst Hayden Russell. He was able to catch some of the combine reaction and knows a lot of the Iowa State players. So, Hayden, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Tyler. I'm excited to talk about Iowa State, especially at the combine. I mean, all five of the dudes that were at the combine for Iowa State just tested so phenomenally. It's going to be so easy to talk about them.
Definitely. Now, with that, let's get started with. I wanted to talk about Darien Porter. Darien Porter he was the talk of day one, running a 4.3 and testing well in a lot of the RAS score things. What were your thoughts about him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the number one thing that I'm going to say about Darien Porter, he is fast. I mean, he
Hmm.
ran a 4.3 flat, like you had said, a 1.49 split, too. That just shows how explosive that he could be. And I know, obviously, looking at his tape and then checking some of his stats, I mean, he had a number of blocked kicks and punts throughout his career. I mean, if just I'm a special teams coach, coach
Hmm.
high school football on the side. When I see those kind of numbers, I think it was like four or five punts or something like that he had blocked, and a number of kicks as well. I mean, if you just take out his corner tape alone, like just throw that aside and just look at his special teams value, that alone is worthy of a draft pick. That is really impressive. It's hard to find uh, production at that sort of level. Um,
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go please.
No, yeah. So like, it's a funny story with Darien Porter. Darien Porter started off as a wide receiver, so he was actually on that 2020 team with Brock Purdy. But like, coaches were trying to find a way to help him stay engaged and stuff. And he was an elite special teams player, and he finally got his time on defense. And just to see how what the player he has become, it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And you can definitely see that wide receiver background when watching him play the defensive
Hmm.
back position too. I watched the Iowa game. He ended up having two interceptions, as you know, and just the way that he gets up and gets the ball, it's really impressive. And you can obviously see that he had a pretty good he had a good broad, like I said, and as you were
Hmm.
saying too. I mean, he had the fastest three cone at the whole event. He had the fastest 5.10 5 shuttle, 4.04, second longest broad jump. I mean, for to test like that, like he might have stolen the show in terms of players at the entire combine. I mean, that might have been the best
Definitely.
performance of anyone there for sure. But as you were saying, with his wide receiver background, it definitely shows up with his ball skills on tape as well.
Yeah, and like they were Rocco Becht, his dad is Anthony Becht, of course, and he was saying in like a summer podcast that like throughout the NFL that Iowa State has a very, very good reputation with like a lot of NFL teams because they know that those guys are not just talented or are not just hardworking, but they're also talented too and will like get the job done.
Well, I'll tell you what, too, just having a coaching background and everything, I always love watching dudes who just give 100% effort at everything they do all the time. And you would be shocked. A lot of these players that are in the draft that are going to get drafted super high, they're not dudes that are going to give 100% effort every single.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple plays where Darien Porter, straight line speed, he was the backside corner on a run away from him, running down the sideline. I mean, he's a guy that's going to give 100% every single play, and it's never a given. And that's where I really noticed his speed because I know that he ran a 4.3 flat at the combine, as we talked about, but that speed's going to show up on the football field as well. He is
Definitely.
really fast. He's going to have a heck of a future.
Definitely, because I definitely see him as definitely more of like a maybe if the team there's a right fit, maybe like a end of day one, maybe possible early day two for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think the one thing that's good, well, I should say two things are really going to hurt him, just in my personal opinion. I know he's an older prospect. I
Yeah,
think I looked on the Iowa State website. I think he's been playing since like 2019 or
yeah.
something like that. He's going to turn 25 years old in his call or in his first NFL season. Could be a hindrance. You know, how about
Hmm.
you're entering your rookie season, really like entering your prime. He's not going to get a lot of that like developmental time as a
Right.
young prospect. He might be a guy that has to kind of jump in the fire right now uh, to be, worthy of his draft where he's going to get picked. I also
Right.
saw a little bit of tightness in his
Hmm.
lower body. The
Yeah.
only concern with that being when you're playing man to man, being
Yeah.
able to turn and run with receivers downfield, and when you're staying in phase, being able to break a lot of receivers at the next level are going to snap off those routes lightning quick. I
Right.
don't know that he has that hip fluidity to be able to
Right.
stay in phase throughout the route. But if you're looking for a corner and you run a heavy zone, especially like cover three, like
Hmm.
heavy cover three team, heavy zone, even cover two, I feel like he's going to be one of the top guys that you're going to be looking at for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. Let's talk about the receivers, Jalen Nolan, Jaden Higgins. I think because I sort of figured that they were both going to run fast, but I mean Jaden Higgins' numbers, especially at his size, 6'4", I think 214, he came in at like
Mhm.
running a 4.47 is absolutely impressive.
Absolutely, for sure. And I noted it down. We actually have up on the Arlad's website. I went down to the Senior Bowl and got to watch both the receivers, Noel and Higgins, in person, and they were two of my favorite players down there. I mean, Higgins to be able to run as fast as he can and as
Hmm.
athletic as he has at his size, I mean, is really, really impressive. He's a heck of a player. Like I said, when I saw him at the Senior Bowl, he's got really eye-opening speed for someone of his or someone of his size. Excuse me. I've been talking about these two receivers since the preseason when we were ranking our Big 12 offensive
Hmm.
star offensive players coming into the season. I just couldn't look away from both of these guys. I know Jaden Higgins. I'm from Kentucky. He played at
Yeah,
Eastern
yeah.
Kentucky. Was really productive over there, and I know he's had 25 touchdowns over the past 3 seasons. I mean, that production alone and 2,100 at Iowa State yardage wise, that production alone is going to speak for itself. But I mean, when you look at his testing at the NFL Combine, I mean, he ran a 4.4740 at that size. What did you say? Like 6'4", like to almost 220 or something like that with a
Yeah.
1.58 10-yard split. That's super explosive for someone of his size. And just being able to move, as well as he can at his size, I mean, it's definitely going to catch the eyes of NFL teams.
Yeah, man. I keep trying to say, please, Dallas, if he's there at 44, please take him, please. But I've read all the other Iowa State fans. No, he's going to the 49ers. No, no.
We'll see. I think he'd
We'll
be a
see.
great fit in either of those offenses.
No, definitely. And then, like, I thought that Jalen was gonna run fast too, and he was moving 4.39, and he led the receivers with 23 reps on the bench, which was absolutely mind-boggling.
Absolutely, for sure. And I thought the most important part about his testing was actually his vertical. He had a 41.5-inch vertical, which was tied for the highest by a wide receiver. I think he also had the highest broad jump of any receiver there as well. I know he's another guy that just tested so exceptionally well. But for that vertical, just being a smaller player, one of the things I noticed, I thought he had kind of like a smaller catch radius, just not being a
Hmm.
super long player, but being able to jump up and being able to high point passes and it like I said, it showed up on tape too. Is really it's really going to help. It's really going to help with that catch radius, I think.
Yeah, I think that, and then his ability to like route run and be able to like find the ball, like even just when you look at like the tape, like the first play of the game against North Dakota, he somehow like just brings down the ball with two. I'm like, how did he catch that?
Well, I know the big debate all season or all off season, I should say, has been which of the two receivers is going to be better, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll. I took a look and thought which receiver is Iowa State going to miss the most? And I feel like it's going to be Noel. I just feel like
Oh
he
yeah.
does so much for that offense. Like just watching him, I mean, he's out wide, he's in the slot, he lined up in the backfield, he was their jet sweep
Hmm.
guy, both sides. I mean, he was a reliable security blanket for him. He's such a crafty route runner, a crafty release off the line. He's so quick, it's so explosive. I was telling our guys actually this morning at our lads, just watching his tape, I know just size wise, you wouldn't think, this is a guy that's going to be taken on day one, but just with his blend of explosiveness, his route running ability, and we saw that vertical too, just his ability to go up and get the ball for how small he is. I really think he could be one of those guys that you see
Yeah.
end up maybe on the back end of day one. He's going to have, at least from our lad side of things, I think I don't know, but I think I'm not the main wide receiver guy. I'm guessing he's going to get some first round hype by the end of the draft season.
I'm telling you, he would be the ideal pick for the Chiefs at like 31. Like I that's and he's from Kansas City too. It's just it feels like it's just meant to be for him to be there at 31.
Absolutely. You look at all the speed in the Chiefs wide receiver room. Hey, they're picking at 31. Jalen Noel, add on to that receiver room, that speed. I mean, Kansas City's got to be one of the fastest teams, if not the fastest team, excuse me, in the NFL. Adding Jalen Noel's only going to help that.
Definitely. And then lastly, let's talk about Jaylen Travis. Jaylen Travis was a guy that came in from the Ivy League, and he bet on himself because there was actually other schools that gave him like trying to give him five times more, but he wanted to prove himself with Ryan Clanton and this coaching staff, and he had a great year.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And Jaylen Travis, another guy that I noticed just from his testing, just for someone that tested as well as he did for how big he is. I think he measured in at like what 336 or 339, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 6'8" tall. He's got 34 and I think 7/8 inches is what it was. 35-inch vertical, 9'4" broad jump. He ran a 5'14". I know that's not going to really stand out, but for someone
Mm-hmm.
that's 339 pounds, I mean, he was hauling 186 split for someone of his size is really good. Just watching his tape, and I only watched his tape sparingly. I'm more of a perimeter guy, wide
Right.
receivers and DBs. He's got a really good base, a real firm base, and you saw that show up on tape a number of times. I don't know. I think he's going to be probably a borderline guy. I think he could sneak in
Yeah.
towards the end of the draft, but with his testing and with his size, just his athletic profile, I do think a team could most certainly take it towards the end of the draft and say, this is a guy that we can develop into a serviceable offensive lineman for us.
No, definitely. I can definitely see him being either be like a camp body or a day three guy if somebody actually really likes his tape. So I do have a few questions to ask you. So out of the four guys that we talked about, who do you think has the highest upside out of all of them?
Oh boy. Um, I'm going to go. This is going to be kind of contradictory to what I said earlier. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go with Jaden Higgins. The
Okay.
only reason I'm going with Higgins is because watching his tape, I don't feel like he's there yet. Like I don't feel like he's like as polished as he could be. There's a couple things that I noticed about his tape. Like he's not really good in contested catch situations,
Yeah.
which is really surprising for how big of a receiver is. There were a lot smaller DBs that got their hands inside and plucked that thing out, um, which could be a problem at the next level. But if he can figure that out, it's going to help. I'm worried a little bit about his ability to separate on
Mm-hmm.
vertical routes. I know he's very fast, and especially for like his size and everything like that.
Yeah.
Uh, but NFL DBs, they're going to be fast too,
Oh
no
yeah.
doubt. And he was able to separate. Um, I don't know how well it's going to be at the next level. I still
Yeah.
think like he's most certainly worthy of a day two pick. But I feel like if you can get some of the kinks out of him, or fix some of the kinks with his play, he can be a really, really talented player, especially having a 6'4", what was it, 220-pound
Yeah.
receiver, someone of his size. I mean, that's going to change an offense, most certainly.
Yeah, definitely. I for me, I definitely is. I probably will say Jalen Noel. I think just for the fact of just like longevity, because when you always have like a guy that can, like someone like I guess like a Puka Nakua or like somebody like that you can like go put somewhere around the field or like a Tyreek Hill, like somebody you can just line up anywhere, and that's longevity right there. That's a quarterback. That's where a quarterback can work with that and like it will help a team win. Like so, that probably would say Jalen No for me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great answer too. I think both of them. I think most certainly you're probably picking one or the other of those two. You could probably throw Darien Porter in there too. Like I said, Iowa State's just got so many great prospects. It's hard to pick this year.
Definitely. And so for the second one, uh, who like out of all the testing that we saw and out of all these guys, who impressed you the most in your eyes?
Definitely Jalen Noel. Most
Yeah.
certainly Jalen Noel. I thought he had, like I said, I think I'm sorry, not Malik Verdon. Gosh, why did his name slip my mind real quick? The cornerback. I'm sorry, Darien Porter. They both tested super well. just seeing Jalen, just knowing what I know about Jalen Noel and having watched his tape and also matching that up with his testing numbers. Like I said, I do think he'll be in that first round conversation. Like you had said, Kansas City Chiefs 31. That'd be pretty nice. But I don't know if they really need a receiver though. But do think he's a guy that could end up in the first round after his testing day.
And the I guess the final question. I know this is sort of going to be a harder um, like question, but I guess what teams like we already said like Jalen Noel with the Chiefs. Who like either for all these guys, what teams do you think would be ideal fits for these guys, or at least what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely for sure. Well, I think Jalen Knowles, he's going to be a slot receiver at the next level.
Mm-hmm.
I think put naming him a slot receiver is limiting to what he does for the team. I
Yeah,
think he has a very similar, and I don't think he's as big, very similar skill set to Debo Samuel
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
with now the Washington Commanders. But San Francisco needs someone like that in their offense again. I feel like that could be a perfect fit. He's that type of
Mm-hmm.
player that could walk in and like I feel like he could walk into the Niners offense and be like an immediate contributor right away. I know Ricky Pearsall is the guy that they developed this past year, their rookie receiver out of Florida from
Mm-hmm.
last year, but I don't know why. I don't think adding Jalen Noel to that offense hurts too much as well. Jaden Higgins obviously is going to be kind of like a bigger type, probably possession type receiver. Like I said, just someone that can move as quick as he can, and just with his fluidity and his route running and everything, I think he's trying to think of a team off the top of my head that needs a big receiver like that.
I feel like it'd be anybody that needs like a wide receiver too. That would probably
Yep.
be like the best fit for him.
hmm I don't feel like he's going to be, and wide receiver one, quote unquote.
Right.
There's only so many wide receiver ones in the
Yeah.
NFL, so I think he can be his potential. I think he could be a really high level wide receiver too, at the next level. I think the more interesting one, and I know I've talked about Jalen's fit as well. Or I'm sorry, not Jalen. Jalen Darien's fit as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about Malik Verdon because he's a player that
Yes.
really flashed when I watched his tape. I don't know what his ideal fit is going to be because he's a safety in a linebacker's body. He's going to be a guy that can get into the trenches and do a lot of the dirty work. He's a tough bruiser. He's going to be able to get things done on the interior. I don't know if you play him as a safety. I've seen some teams, I'm a Colts fan,
Yeah.
turn that linebacker position into almost like a bigger safety. I know they drafted
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Carlies from Missouri a couple years ago. They had
Yeah.
Ronnie Harrison playing down in the box a little bit. And I feel like he's a guy that could kind of fit that mold for a team that's looking to maybe get a little bit more athletic in the box. But he's a guy that can also get it done in the trenches as well.
Yeah, he's a guy. Yeah, like definitely, we definitely felt his absence in a lot of games last year when he was hurt. But yeah, I think he's a guy that will find a home with the team. And like, are there any like future guys that you're looking at for ISU? Because I like it's only starting right now because there's going to be so many guys coming out next year and the year after that. So like, if you have any questions about that, I have other guys that I can tell you about.
Oh, of course. I'd love to hear about anyone that you have to offer. I just know from our room, I'll say at our lads, and this is a spoiler. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this. We really like Rocco Becht. We think he could be a legitimate guy that comes out potentially even next year. I think he's a sophomore this year. The guy that could come out next year and be like a legitimate NFL prospect.
Yeah, he is going to be a redshirt junior this year. I think with him, obviously one thing that he will probably is obviously going to be working on is accuracy because obviously when things got tough, he relied on Jalen to get him on
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But like one guy that did emerge that is going to be a guy is Gabe Burkle. He was the number 2 tight end, and another guy, the number 1 tight end, Ben Bramer, is really really good. That tight end room is really really good. But I think 2 of the guys to watch out for are Ben Bramer, who is usually mostly a receiving tight end. He's gotten a lot better at blocking. And then Gabe Burkle probably took the biggest step for me. He was a blocking tight end, but like he definitely developed in the receiving game. And then there's going to be a guy that's going to be similar to Darien Porter. His name is Benny Ngoyi. We got him from Nebraska, but he is another receiver that has been converted into a corner. So I'm excited to see the steps he takes. And then another guy is John Tez Williams. I believe he had like 4 or 5 interceptions. So like he's very, very good and man to man coverage. So that's a guy that you should look out for. And then I probably would say, yeah, there's a few other guys. So hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
There is we have Jackson. We have Jack Sadowski, who's a linebacker, and Will McLaughlin. They're both elite at play recognition. And then also Kale Brazina from my neck of the woods, Downers Grove. I live in the Chicagoland area, but he had a excellent game as a true freshman in Kinnick at. So definitely you should definitely check out his film. And then we also have Chase Soul, the transfer that we got in from ECU. I think he's going to be a guy that will step up and be a good receiver for Rocco. So I think Rocco, yeah, definitely look at Rocco and like him and taking that step. I think he's going to take that step this year.
Absolutely, for sure. I know that Iowa State's going to have a ton of talent. I just want to say the job that Matt Campbell's done at Iowa State is second to none. I mean, so I'll say this: I'm a Division III guy. He's a
Yeah,
Division III guy, so we already got that connection. Just the job that he's done at Iowa State has been nothing but phenomenal. I'm always worried that an NFL team's going to come in and snatch him and take him away, or that he's going to leave, or whatever it may be. But he's done an awesome job there. They've had so much success since he's been there, and I'm really excited to see where he continues to take them.
yeah, no, definitely, man, and you know, and it helps that when you hear that some of his like role models are like Bill Snyder and Kirk Ferentz. So I've always wanted like Iowa State like to be like a good football school, and now we're just trying to like in this new Big 12 and new college football landscape is like trying to go and make that jump from good to great. That's always the hardest part, and like finally getting over that 10-win hump. Like I think doing that and then having this type of weekend in the NFL Combine, I think it's only going to help out recruiting for Iowa State in the future.
Absolutely. And with the way that the college football playoffs and everything is going right now, I know there's 12 teams right now, and there's already talks about even extending it more. You never know. Iowa State could be a team that's in there and could be a dark horse to, go far some point in the future. Obviously, this is contingent on Matt Campbell staying
Mm-hmm.
and, continuing to build the program.
No, definitely, and then just like with the way he builds his staff with just excellent uh, position coaches and his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator like John Hickok with the 3-3-5 defense. Like I think, and then just and I man, I forgot about the main guy who was injured most of the time, Caleb Bacon. Like he's gonna be a guy that you got that you're definitely his tape that you're gonna fall in love with because he's gonna be back healthy this year. So definitely watch for. There's gonna be a lot of defensive prospects to look out for, but man, thank you for sharing your time with me and talking a little bit about the NFL Combine, Hayden.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, Tyler, and just wanted to say, a big thank you from our lads. I did want to say, I don't know if you're a big NFL draft guy or anything like that. We do have our
Oh,
draft guide
yes.
coming out here in next month, actually. So it's going to have
Okay.
draft reports on about 300 players or so, all the players that we have draftable grades on. The 5 Iowa State guys are going to be in there as well that we just talked about today. So if you want to see our report on them, feel free to check it out at ourlads.com.
All right. And then where can everybody else find you if they're more interested in hearing about what like your reports and stuff for play reports?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So we do have a YouTube channel. You can look up Our Lads Football for that. You can look up my personal Twitter. It is HN Russell, HNRUSSELL. Or you can go to ourlads.com. We write articles on there. And like I had said, we do have our draft guide on there as well, which is where a lot of my reports are going to be. Looking to have, like I said, somewhere around 300 reports in that book between all of the scouting staff.
All right. Hayden, thank you so much for your time. And that is all the time that we're going to have today, you guys. Thank you for joining us. I just had to do a few things, as always, as we end the podcast. Um, as always, Believe in Iowa State is a top 15 sports podcast in the state of Iowa, nominated by Feed Spot. So we thank you guys for all that state of Iowa listeners around the world. And if you have any questions for me on social media, my Twitter handle is at side tie guy. And then just for the podcast, Believe in Iowa State, BLEAV. Here are our different forms of social media, 5 forms of social media on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. So for Tyler Carter, this is a special edition of the Believe in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby. All right. Man, thank you so much again. I appreciate it.
Awesome. No, like I said, I appreciate you having me on. Where